Good morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe alongside Nick Wright, Kevin Wildes, Eric Mangini with us on this Friday morning. Good to have you with us, Coach. We got a great show for you today. Where will Cam Newton end up? We'll toss that around a little. George Kittle's going to stop by, join the conversation. And as always, it seems to be Brady versus Belichick versus Brady versus Belichick. That's where we start this morning. Tom's out of New England now. The future in Tampa that's looking bright. Fox Bet giving him the 9th best odds to win MVP, tied with Kyler Murray. But the way he left the Patriots has us still talking. Why wasn't there a bigger push from Belichick to keep him? And how did that land with Brady? I was an older athlete, Tom said, and he started to plan for the future, which is what his responsibility is. And I don't fault him for that. That's what he should be doing. Nick, once again, Brady taking the high road here. What do you make of his comments? What he had to say?
Well, the graciousness here is really unbelievable. You put it exactly right, Jenna. He took the high road at every opportunity during this 2-hour and 9-minute interview with Howard Stern. At no point did he needle. At no point did he show any outward bitterness, anger, or even any hurt or vulnerability. And so I will give him credit for that, because this is Tom Brady continuing his 20-year track record of being not only the consummate professional, but the consummate teammate. Now, does that mean I believe that those are his true, earnest, honest feelings? I don't, because even though Tom Brady has ascended to the level of sports demigod, he is still human. And any human in the position Brady's in would be wounded by what just happened here. The fact of the matter is, Brady and Belichick clearly disagree on what the next couple years for Tom Brady is going to look like, or are going to look like, pardon me. And Kevin, I wouldn't blame Brady at all if he felt he had earned the Johnny Carson send-off. Johnny Carson hosted The Tonight Show for 40 years. On May 24th, 1991, I looked it up this morning, he announced when he was leaving. He said, "My final show will be May 22nd, 1992. Exactly 1 year later, and he nailed it to the actual day. You know why? Because he and the bosses said, hey, I need a farewell year. This is the day I want to go out. And he was allowed that. While if any athlete had ever earned that, it would have been Brady, especially when Brady thinks he still has a lot left in the tank. So I appreciate his graciousness here, Kevin, but I also think it's not his maybe most honest, true feelings about what just transpired.
See, I think it is pretty honest, Nick. And one side note, Johnny Carson also wanted Letterman to take over, and the bosses were like, nah, dude, we're Leno. And Leno ended up carrying NBC to like a number of first-place finishes over the next 2 decades, 3 decades. So that's just some late-night context. All right, so tell me and I'm going to stick with entertainment, Nick. I'm going to go to screenwriting classes in movies that you watch. And part of screenwriting is the protagonist and the antagonist have to share some traits and values. And that happens at the end of the movie, around the 3rd act, when you're watching, you're like, oh my goodness, the good guy and the bad guy are largely the same person. That's Belichick and Brady. They both are super dedicated. They're both super competitive, and they're both based off trust. And I actually thought the most interesting quote about Belichick was actually about the wide receivers that Brady said. So if we put that quote up, I'll read it verbatim. And while you listen to it, imagine Belichick saying this about Brady. I would say, I don't have any trust that this guy can help us win the game. I've definitely expressed my opinion to say, if you put him out there, I'm not going to throw him the ball. The whole team is trusting me, Belichick or Brady, to do what's right by the team. So you can't put someone out there who I don't believe in. Because if I don't believe in him, it's worthless for the team. And I think, fortunately for me, Coach Belichick always saw it in the same way as me, which is why I think we had such a great connection. They are the same guys, and the way that Brady felt about his wide receivers is exactly how Belichick felt about him. And I think Tom Brady recognized that and is actually okay with it.
Coach, why do we all want Belichick to be someone that we know he isn't? You know Bill Belichick. You coached with Bill Belichick. The guy's all business. He's always been all business. He knew that eventually Brady was going to get, I don't want to say too old to play. I mean, not at least in New England, but eventually he was going to have to plan for life after Tom Brady. And that's exactly what he wanted to do and what he started to put in place. So what do you make of these comments by Tom Brady?
Yeah, well, first of all, Wild, I think this is better than any movie that you could ever put together and more unbelievable than any movie. The fact that you have a sixth-round quarterback, a head coach that was traded for, who had one winning season in his prior stint, and they go on to win 6 Super Bowls. If we saw that movie prior to it happening, we wouldn't believe it. But what I've said before with Tom is you can't go through 20 years of benefiting from Bill's ruthless economy or ruthless economic approach to players and see your friends traded, see guys come and go, and then suddenly expect it not to apply to you. So I do think Tom realizes that at some point it was going to happen to him. Where I don't think this was very gracious, and look, I traditionally side with Tom. I think him saying that Bill moved on from him implies that there was no chance that the Patriots were ever going to bring him back, which isn't consistent with things that we've heard either from Robert Kraft or in general. I thought that part actually wasn't gracious at all. He's saying that he was open to coming back, but is the truth he was only open to coming back on very specific terms? That to me is the part that doesn't sit well from the interview.
Well, Coach, let me follow up on, pardon me, let me follow up on that then, because Brady admitted in this interview that he knew before this season started that it was going to be his last season in New England. And so, we're in a weird spot right now where allow me to defend Tom Brady while you attack his character and everything about him. I'm very disarmed by what's happening right here. No, I know.
Bizarro world.
And so if you're Tom Brady in August of 2019 and you're 6 months removed from winning your 6th Super Bowl, you're 18 months removed from winning league MVP, and you're 30 months removed from winning your 5th Super Bowl in the greatest comeback in NFL history. And that Bill Belichick, the ruthless economy of thought and the way he builds the team says, nah, man, you have not done enough to get a contract extension, because ultimately contract extensions have never been about what you've done. They've only been about what you're doing moving forward. Brady said, that's when I knew I wasn't going to be back. So I think Belichick did, and Coach, tell me what you think, I think he did make it clear to Tom Brady that this was going to be his last year when he had the opportunity to ensure that it wasn't going to be his last year, and he decided against that. What do you think about that, Coach?
Well, to me, there's a difference between saying this is going to be your last year and there's no opportunity for you to stay versus saying we may see things economically differently. And there is a space that we can agree upon. It may not be what you're happy with. It may not be how you see your worth, but there is a place for you here if we can get to a number that works. And maybe it's incentive-based. And I think in Tom's mind, he deserved more, and I'm not begrudging him that. There is a distinction, though, between someone moving on from you and saying you don't have a home here, you don't have any opportunity here, versus someone saying, I disagree with the value that you place on yourself. We need to try to get to a spot that works for both of us. And I don't get a sense that New England said there was no opportunity. They just didn't see it as an opportunity. They didn't see the value the same way.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Coach, thanks so much.
Here's a message from our sponsor, ZipRecruiter. Right now, we cannot be overwhelmed. We have to work to keep our loved ones safe and protect our communities. We have to work to stay strong, to stay connected, to stay focused. We have to work to inspire, to innovate, to build new solutions. But for all of this to work, we have to work together. At ZipRecruiter, we connect employers and people every day. But today, we are partnering with first responders, government officials, the medical community, the innovators, and the manufacturing, transportation, and food distribution industries to make sure we are finding the right people for the right jobs right now. Let's work together. ZipRecruiter.com/work together.
Back here, first things first, Saints All-Pro defensive end Cam Jordan is back with us. Good morning, Cam.
Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody today?
We are good. We are raring to go. All right, Cam, let's talk some Cam. The 30-year-old former Panthers quarterback has been on the open market for over 2 weeks now. And a recent report says Cam Newton is willing to wait if it means landing a job as a high-level starter. Cam Jordan, you're used to playing Cam Newton twice a year in the NFC South. You believe Newton is still a high-end starting quarterback in the NFL right now?
Absolutely. He's a complete game changer. When he's healthy, the things he's able to do on the field, I don't think there's a quarterback like him. To be, 6'5", 6'6", to run as fast as he does, to be able to, make the plays that he does. There is not an NFL comparison to him. Everybody say he's hard to tackle like Ben Roethlisberger, yet he moves like, Russell Wilson does in the pocket. He can stretch a field like no other quarterback, and yet he has the arm cannon to deliver that he had a potential great wide receiver that he hadn't had since Steve Smith.
And Nick, I want your take on this. The other interesting part on what Jeremy Fowler reported was that Cam is going to be patient, wait till after the draft or beyond. And then Jeremy said he might wait till a quarterback gets injured. I was like, holy cow, how long are we going to wait? Is Cam Newton just announcing, well, he didn't announce it, but is he saying, I'm not holding a clipboard, period. I'll just sit on the sidelines, figuratively, and wait week 2, Jay Cutler style? How deep do you think Cam's patience is going to run here?
Yeah, I think, Wilds, you nailed it. What that means is Cam Newton is not getting involved in some fugazi quarterback competition. Cam Newton is not signing up to be somebody's backup in this league because he is still Cam bleeping Newton. And Cam bleeping Jordan just told us what every player we ask about Cam says. When he's right, he's a problem. And so I understand that Cam's accuracy has been hit or miss throughout his career. Some people don't like some of the way he carries himself in press conferences, even though I think that's totally nonsense, meaningless. But for the guys who line up against him, if you have a truth serum moment and you say, who scares you more to go up against, Cam Newton or the guy he was just replaced with, Teddy Bridgewater? And everyone loves Teddy, but the answer is Cam Newton. Who scares you more, Cam Newton or the guy we just saw in the Super Bowl, Jimmy Garoppolo? The answer is Cam Newton. And so, Jenna, if I'm Cam, I'm absolutely waiting until after the draft, because the last thing I want is to sign with the team, have them tell me I'm their guy, and then that team drafts Tua or that team drafts Justin Herbert, and all of a sudden I know my clock is ticking before my career even starts with this team. Now, I don't think Jenny's going to have to wait till an injury, but if he does, so be it. He is a starting level quarterback in this league, Jenna Wolfe.
I hear what you're saying, Nick. I hear what you're saying, Cam and Wilds. But meanwhile, there's like 4 or 5 teams out there that are looking for starting quarterbacks that are waiting right now, that are not willing to go all in because we keep saying, when healthy, he's such and such. Cam says he's pretty much healthy and ready to go, and teams are still hesitant, and you can't blame him. Guys coming off 2 injuries you never want a quarterback to have, the shoulder injury and the foot injury. So all that stuff has to be factored in. But Cam, I'll ask you, if you open this up big picture, where do you think Cam Newton should go? Where's a great team for him to land?
I'm going to say anywhere except the NFC South, apparently. I feel like that door is closed there. When you talk about what Cam Newton's able to do, I mean, if he goes down to Miami, I see him striving. He goes up to New York, I can see him thriving. Honestly, I'd like to keep him in the AFC, so then I won't have to face him to a Super Bowl. I like those odds because, again, I feel like there is no other quarterback that can do what he does. Maybe the closest we're going to get to is Pat Mahomes, just in terms of being able to escape out the pocket, in terms of having the arm power, in terms of having the ability to stretch those type of plays, and it's having similar stature. I don't know if Pat Mahomes is going to reach 6'6", but so having similar stature as that. So I'm going to say anywhere in the AFC. How about that? Just get out the NFC. I'll take that one.
Cam, give me your opinion on this. Suppose the season starts and Cam is still unsigned, and then he gets signed by the team you're about to play, and it's announced Cam's going to start. Would that even work? Or in your opinion, how long would it take for Cam to get up to speed with a new team?
I feel like any team knowing that they're going to sign Cam is already going to have a picture in mind of how to use him, how to utilize his talent. I don't think, I feel like he's been a starter for the last 9 years. He knows how to come in and win at a high percentage. Again, when he comes in, he's going to be ready. I think it might take a week or two for him to get things under helm, just in terms of I saw Teddy Bridgewater, start, what was it, week 2 or 3 and then take over the next week. He got thrown into the Rams game. The next week he were in Seattle and we started winning from there. So I'd give him a week and a half tops for him to cultivate his own playbook and everything turn into it.
Sorry to jump in on you, Cam. The idea that you need this super extended runway to be ready to play football, sure, that is ideal, but we see year after year how that is a lie. We see guys get signed off the street and have to immediately start games, even at the quarterback position every few years, and they find a way to make it happen. That is usually an excuse for a reason not to sign a guy like Cap, like, oh, well, he's going to have to learn the system and might as well be learning Mandarin, or it's an excuse as to why someone who we think should be in the league is not in the league. But I'm going to go back to a player that Cam Jordan plays with. Think about right now if Taysom Hill were an unrestricted free agent. He seemingly would have more interest than Cam Newton does, which to me says, Jenna, it cannot just be about the injuries. There is a disconnect between Cam and some of the GMs in the league, because Teddy Bridgewater, who has started 5 games in 5 years because of a catastrophic knee injury, just got $63 million from a team that wanted to move on from Cam Newton. Sam Bradford got chance after chance after chance, even though his absolute apex upside was, he's okay, because there is a scarcity of competent starting quarterbacks. The idea that Cam, at 30 years old, is the biggest injury risk we've ever seen is just nonsense. There is, for some reason, a knock on Cam that dates back to before the draft, when he said to Peter King, I want to be a great player and an icon. Then the Super Bowl, for some reason, the takeaway from Cam Newton getting that team to 15-1, winning the MVP, and being the best team in the league until they ran into Von Miller and the Broncos was he had a bad press conference. And now it's like, speaking of press conferences, I think he dresses like a clown, and I don't know how much he's interested in just football. There's all these other things that are used against Cam Newton because, Jenna, when you ask the players, as we're asking Cam Jordan's saying, anywhere where I don't have to play him, because I went up against him twice a year for his whole career, and he's a pain in the ass. And so I feel like there's a disconnect that people need to acknowledge here, Jenna.
So, Cam Jordan, let me ask you that. How much of it do you think is all the other stuff, the fluff, the entertainment, the style, the brand, and how much of it is maybe the injury, and how much of it is really his inconsistency? Because on our show, the last couple of years, when we talk about Cam Newton, you can't doubt how talented he is, how mobile he is, how strong he is, and what a force he is. But he has been inconsistent. One game he plays like that MVP we once saw, and the next game he doesn't. So which do you think is the real reason why teams are hesitant to sign him right now?
I don't know. When it comes down to, the fluff that is Cam Newton, that's his personality. That's what he's chosen to do. It does not take away from the player that he is. At the end of the day, he is a playmaker. He's been a playmaker. For us to still be talking about, what he wears or what he walks up to, that all that stuff at the end of the day is not going to help me win a game. When he gets down to it, we know the talent that he is. So at the end of the day, there's things that we have to focus on. I mean, we focus on what you can't control. You know that he's got a shoulder. I also know that, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Drew Brees, had a shoulder injury. He came from San Diego and then had a stretch the way he has. So I'm not worried about a shoulder. Like we've emphasized that, a shoulder is something that may break Cam Newton as a potential starter. But in my eyes, I'm like, hey, with the right trainer, with the right background, there is an ability for him to strive. So at this point, Cam Newton said he's going to wait to be a high-end starter, and I take that for what it's worth.
And Jenna, your point about inconsistency is well taken, and that existed even prior to the injury. But the reason that I'm so adamant about this is there are a dozen teams in the league that would love to have an inconsistent quarterback instead of what they have, which is a very consistent quarterback that is consistently awful. The Broncos have had great consistency at the quarterback position since Peyton Manning left. They have been consistently terrible. The Jaguars have had amazing consistency at the quarterback position. They have been consistently awful. And so he doesn't have to be Drew Brees or Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson to deserve a job. We're not putting him on the all-decade team. We're saying, should he be ahead of Drew Lock on John Elway's depth chart? And the answer, of course, is yes, obviously. But it hasn't happened, which Wilds makes me believe, and I know we got to be quick here, but Kevin, it makes me believe there's more to it than just the injury or the inconsistency.
I agree. I like to play a game. If this person was in the NFL draft, where would they go? And if Cam Newton was all of a sudden available in the NFL draft, don't you think he'd be flying up the draft boards? Don't you think everybody would be like, wow, this guy is fantastic. We've never seen a player like him. He's brilliant. I'm fine. You know what? I was getting upset. Then I forgot that the Patriots are going to get him. I'm calming down. This is how Belichick works. God. I feel good now again. Wait till the Patriots get him, Nick. Just wait. It's going to be a wonderful day on the show in all of New England, from the coast of Connecticut all the way up to Maine. Just be a big celebration. To be delightful. What a day it's going to be,
Jordan's
Jenna.
Like, what's going on here? We got to take a break. Cam's going to stick around, join us for another segment. It would be a good day for you, Wild. Back here, first things first, with Saints All-Pro defensive end Cam Jordan. Time for stories to start your morning. Here we go. The Rams are trading Brandon Cooks and a 2022 fourth-round pick to the Texans for a second-round pick in this year's draft. Cam Cooks, your former teammate, how do you feel about him playing on his fourth team now in just 5 years?
I thought he had found a home with the Rams. When it comes down to it, my guy is a talent. I mean, when you say Brandon Cooks, I automatically think 1,000-yard receiver, and then I have to look at the stats and say he didn't get 1,000 yards last year. He also saw seemingly a lack of targets last year, and I can't really depict why. This is one of your guys who can stretch a field. He can run a lot of different routes. He can bring that speed to you, and he has sure hands. So for him to have a decline in targets, maybe it's time for him to find a home with the Texans. You have a playmaker, a dynamic at the quarterback position, as you're going to find with Deshaun Watson. And now you bring in, after losing DeAndre Hopkins, you bring in Brandon Cooks. That's somebody that can stretch the field. So I understand it. I don't understand why the Rams let wide receiver like Brandon Cooks go.
Nick, you know what I say? Once a Patriot, always a Patriot. I'm happy for Brandon Cooks. I feel a little sad for him because when this trade was announced, I opened up my computer and there was just fire coming out of it towards Bill O'Brien. But Brandon Cooks is good. Don't let the Bill O'Brien decision-making cloud how good Brandon Cooks is.
Well, Brandon Cooks is good, but as Cam alluded to, he's coming off his least productive season, and unfortunately, he has had 5 concussions, including 2 last year, so you're concerned about his health long term. In regards to Bill O'Brien, the decision flow here is just a blind guy throwing darts. he has effectively traded DeAndre Hopkins for Brandon Cooks and David Johnson, while adding in Randall Cobb at $18 million guaranteed in a year where no receivers are getting paid when you already have Will Fuller and Kenny Stills, which makes a ton of sense given the fact they lost that playoff game because they couldn't score it. Oh, wait. They lost the playoff game because the defense allowed 51. And no, we don't need to address it, and we don't have any picks to address it either. Should be no problem. I do have a quick question for you, Cam Jordan. You've been very fortunate. Drafted by a team coached by Sean Payton. Excellent, not only coaching, but general managing. When you talk to friends across the league, and I'm asking you to name names, who maybe don't have the stability of franchise that you have, what type of impression do you get for players who are on teams that aren't as well run as yours that, man, I can do my job, but I'm not going to have the pieces around me? Because I fear that's what Texans players are feeling right now. What do you think of that, Cam?
I can sympathize with them in terms of having different D coordinators. That first 5 years I was in the league, I had 4 different D coordinators, from Greg Williams, Steve Spagnuolo to Rob Ryan, then, of course, Dennis Allen. That's a stretch where, things get a little dicey. You don't know if you're their system guy. You don't know if you're a guy that can succeed with the coaching staff. And at the same time, your best foot forward is always playing the best football that you can. And at the end of the day, it's about building the best team that you can try to put on the field. So when it comes down to, possibly being on another team, it's just like having another defensive coordinator for me. It's something that you're going to have to, one, learn a whole entire new system, adjust and adapt, and then be able to take to the field. As long as you're able to take to the field, I think there is no problem.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about this organizational mismanagement. Nick, I'll direct this to you from the Rams' perspective. So Cooks is gone now. Gurley's in Atlanta. Jared Goff's coming off the worst season he's had under Sean McVay. Is the Rams' window now officially closed, do you think?
Yeah, I believe with this core, it absolutely is. People got very mad at me when around week 10, I said the Rams Super Bowl window open and close like this, but we're now seeing it. Next year, Wilds, the single biggest cap hit in the NFL belongs to Jared Goff. Next year, the second biggest cap hit in the league belongs to the dead money for Cooks and Gurley for the Rams. So you have nearly 35% of your cap, if you're the Rams next year, goes to Goff and 2 players who aren't on your team anymore. Wilds, the Rams were very aggressive with early extensions. I'm always a fan of guys getting paid, but typically you want the players to actually last half of those extensions before you move on. I worry the Rams could be the worst team in that division this year, and that window open and closed with that loss to the Patriots, your beloved Patriots, that quickly, Wilds.
That's right. Nick, there's a famous Wire quote. If you come at Bill Belichick, you better not miss. And they mortgaged their future to try to get to that Super Bowl. Their last first-round pick was Jared Goff. Then they sat back. They don't have a first-round pick this year. They don't have a first-round pick next year. It's just they've got 4 seconds this year, so maybe they'll be able to pull something off. But this has just been a disaster, Cam. I don't think you need to worry about the Rams. Although I know you have to say something nice. You're a current player, but you don't have to worry about the Rams.
You talk about what Jared Goff had a down year last year, but we also know that he can help his team get to a Super Bowl. It was a guy who, ended up in a Super Bowl 2 years ago. There's a team that, you lose your top running back in Todd Gurley, and everybody talks about, maybe he's, had a down year. Of course, he still ran for something like 800 yards. Todd Gurley is still a force to be reckoned with, and now I have to deal with him twice a year over at Atlanta. You can't sort of replace what Brandon Cooks has done. You don't have somebody who's stretching the field like that on the roster now. So if you say, the Rams are in a playoff picture, I'll just say, Sean McVay and Jared Goff can probably find a way to say that they are.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. New topic now. Cam, first off, congratulations on making the 2010s All-Decade Team. It is quite an honor.
Cam.
Unfortunately, your teammate, Drew Brees, was left off of it. You and Brees, you had Brees listed 4 times in your top 5 quarterbacks of the decade. If I recall, it went Brees, Brady, Brees, and then Brees. That's right. Cam, I'm guessing you think Brees got snubbed here.
Yeah, when you look at the last decade, you you see his stats, you see his percentage of completions, you see those eye-popping, was it 3 or 4 or 5,000-yard seasons in the last decade, and you say, who's throwing the ball more, who has completed the ball more, who has scored more touchdowns? And the answer would be nobody. But then you look at Tom Brady and the way he's won, 3 or 4 championships in the last 10 years. And then I try and, look at Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, look, he won a Super Bowl at the beginning of the decade. And since then, he's had some good seasons. But nobody's been more consistent. Nobody has been as special as Drew Brees has. So top 5 QBs of 2010, I put right there. And that might be me biased. So I might have to add in Aaron Rodgers at 4 and, Cam Newton at 5. If I had to be realistic. But it would still be double. It would still be
Cam,
double
that's
Drew
you
Brees.
being a good teammate. Cam, that's you being a good teammate. Nick, I know you do a solo radio show, but I think you could learn a lot from Cam here. Unquestioned support for his teammates. So when Jenna and I say something, that's 100% right, Wilds. That's how you be a good teammate. Great job, Cam. You're saying a good example for Nick here.
Well, Wilds, you are 100% right that I do a solo radio show at night. You got something right today. I would like to congratulate you for that. Now I'm going to take advantage for the first time of social distancing. The fact that Cam Jordan can't reach out and lay hands on me when I say this. Man, I'm sorry, but Drew Brees was the 3rd best quarterback of the decade. The all-decade team's got two quarterbacks. Brady's got to be 1. Rodgers won an MVP, won 2 MVPs, pardon me. He went to a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl. Brees has happened the previous decade. I apologize. Those are the breaks. Dan Marino, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, also never made an all-decade team. There's no shame in this, and I don't even want to let Cam Jordan respond, Jenna. I can feel his eyes just glaring all through me. Can we please move on?
We can, and we will. And you know what? I was going to try to reach through Wilds to get to, and I can't do it.
No.
A little basketball now. No, because we go Brady Bunch style. It never actually works that way. A little basketball now, where the horse competition is now officially set.
Yeah.
8 current and former NBA and WNBA players will participate. Here is your group, headlined by Trae Young, Chris Paul, and Paul Pierce. Cam, you're a baller. Who do you have winning this?
I think it comes down to, do you have to replicate the exact same shot? Because it comes down to it, Zach LaVine gets his turn. Nobody in this group is going to start dunking like Zach LaVine is. He'll never, he'll have too many guys being bounced out. But my money might be on Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce.
There we go.
I've joked with my friends. I call Paul Pierce the greatest recreational player of all time. There is nothing that Paul Pierce in his mind doesn't think that he can accomplish. I'm there's no set defense, there's no set system. He gets in and he just you're all right, well, you don't have to really worry about Paul Pierce drops 30. You know what? You do have to worry about Paul Pierce every time. We used to have a running joke between the friends, Cam, you play like Paul Pierce. I'm because I don't have a set position. I get in and I create plays. And that's exactly what Paul Pierce does.
That's right, Nick. Truth hurts. Truth hurts. Paul Pierce is going to take this home. I love Mr. Big Shot, too. I don't know if the big shots extend over to Horse. Those are both my guys, but I'm going to go with the truth here.
All right, okay. Hey, with respect, what the hell are you guys talking about? Here's the power rankings of this. CP3's the favorite. He'd be the 1 seed. Trae Young's the 2 seed. Can we put the graphic back up so I can see him? Tamika Catchings, one of the greatest players ever and a Hall of Famer. She's the 3 seed. Mike Conley Jr. is the 4. Allie Quigley's the 5. Zach LaVine's the 6. Chauncey Billups is the 7. Cam Jordan is the 8. Kevin
insane.
Wilds is the 9. And then Paul Pierce comes in at the 10. Unless Paul Pierce is bringing a wheelchair with him and he can do maybe a few shots from there because he's got some practice at that, he's got no shot. He's drawn dead at this. He knows he's drawn dead at this. Oh, my God, Wilds. Wilds, admit your biases. Your job isn't to be unbiased. Your job is to admit your biases. You used to work with Paul Pierce. You're friends with Paul Pierce. You and Paul Pierce used to both talk about your mutual dislike for me, and so now you're bringing it up on this show. Pierce would be the last pick eligible in this. We all know it. Jenna, go ahead.
All right. I want to get to this last one. We don't have that much time left. We're going to end talking some breakfast. Patrick Mahomes recently tweeted out, quote, "I'm trying to get some KC barbecue soon." So, Cam, we got to ask you, better food, Kansas City or New Orleans?
That's not a real question. You go to Kansas City for barbecue, for the vinegar-based barbecue sauces they put on, slather on everything. In New Orleans, there's so much food here. Like my biggest problem coming to New Orleans was it being New Orleans. I came in, I was like, oh, it's the beignets, and it's the crawfish etouffee, and it's the jambalaya, it's the gumbo, it's the Cajun seafood, it's the soft shell blue crab. It's everything that you want in terms of food that you never knew that you wanted. You come into New Orleans and it's nothing but a family that is full of the community that has probably the worst time in COVID-19 because it is such a familial type of community. Like the whole idea of New Orleans is to eat with other people, like eat with friends, eat with family, eat with a random person that can become your family. You have a crawfish boil and you throw out the bucket and everybody comes in. You don't even have to know them. You just welcome them over. Hey, we're doing a crawfish boil. We got red beans and rice. Come on, join over. And that's just what New Orleans is. So the better food, clearly New Orleans. The most problem that we're having with COVID-19, everybody's staying away, New Orleans.
Quite an argument, Nick.
All right, listen. New Orleans is one of my 3 favorite cities in the world, and I love everything about it, including the food. But this is a 2016 Warriors versus 2016 Cavs situation. The New Orleans is the Warriors. You have all these amazing options. You have almost an embarrassment of riches. Kansas City barbecue is the LeBron James of this equation. Sometimes one thing that is the number 1 overall seed of everything trumps everything else. So I love the diversity of the New Orleans food, but of course it's Kansas City barbecue. Jenna, no one else needs to say anything.
It's LeBron James.
I'm leaving.
I like Texas barbecue better than Kansas City.
So much. Back here, first things first, Niners All-Pro tight end George Kittle joins the show. George, good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. Pleasure.
Hey, tell us what you've been up to since the world basically came to a pause.
I actually turned my garage into an entire gym, which is pretty nice. I got a stair stepper in there, squat rack. Just trying to train, don't know when the season's going to start, so I'm just looking forward to that. I've been actually in the kitchen a lot more with my wife. Prepared my Easter ham last night, which was pretty awesome. So that was delicious, and looking forward to more cooking opportunities with that. And also, before we get started, I just want to give a big thank you to all the food service workers out there, for their the work that they're doing day in and day out, so we can all live our lives as normal as possible. So just a thank you to them. And now I'm ready to go whenever you guys are.
That's all. No, it's awesome. And it's very well taken, your thank you to them, and I extend it on behalf of the rest of us as well. There is an amazing clip of you, George, that I think a lot of people were already fans of you, even if they weren't fans of the Niners, because of the style you play, the way you carry yourself. But there's a mic'd up clip of you on the sidelines near the waning moments of the Super Bowl, where you're talking ostensibly to yourself, saying, I'll be back here. I'll be back here. And can you take me to that moment? And I don't know if you knew that was going to be part of a mic'd up compilation, but take me to that moment and what's going through your head when that happened.
No, I actually totally forgot I was mic'd up. That's, you forget about that stuff sometimes. Say some things you shouldn't. But that moment, it's been a dream of mine to play in a Super Bowl. It was also my dream to win a Super Bowl. So I achieved one of those dreams, but I got to get back and, get the other one. And so, when I work in the off season, the hours I spend during the season, just making sure my body's healthy so I can play. Most of that's just focused on trying to win a Super Bowl. And so, I think actions are, you have to speak it first. And so you convince yourself that you can actually do it. And I'm pretty confident in my ability to be able to do that again.
If we can go back to the Super Bowl just one more time for a moment, if when you look back on it, if there's a singular play or a singular moment that you say, if this one had gone differently, we would have been champions. Is there one play that stands out to you? Is there one moment you say that you're like, damn it, I want to have that one back?
There's plenty of plays that, every single football game that you want back that, you wish you could do better on. I feel like we have a team full of guys that, have, those plays. I don't have a single one play that I think I would look at. A pass interference call is tough. Could have gotten a field goal at the end of that. But, I'm not going to say that was the one play that lost us the game. There are plenty of other opportunities for all of us to make out there. And that's why football is a team sport. Every single play, you're relying on all 11 guys on your side of the ball to make the play. And, we just didn't make it enough. And, it's kudos to the Kansas City Chiefs. They got weapons all over the field, offense and defense. They got playmakers, and that's what they did. They went out and they won the game.
George, I want to ask you a question about basketball, oddly. We're staying in the Bay Area. It's something that Steve Kerr always talks about. He talks about the value of playing with joy and how playing with joy can actually unleash more energy and more tenacity. So he always tries to keep joy as part of the Warriors. You play with so much joy and energy. So I have two questions. One, is that joy all natural, or is it part of your strategy of how you approach the game? And two, when things don't break right for you and you feel like the forces are hurting your joy or could bring you down, what do you do to keep yourself so joyful while you play?
No, that's all natural. I just love playing football. And one thing that I learned at an early age is that football's a lot easier when you're having a good time, when you're having fun. When you're out there and you're stressed and you're thinking about stuff, you're upset. You overthink things, you miss plays, and then it's just a snowball effect, and you start playing really bad. And so I just always say, I get an opportunity to play football, which is my dream my entire life. So I'm just going to take advantage of every opportunity that I get, whether it's a run play that I'm blocking a defensive end on, whether I'm pass setting at the end, whether I get to run a route and catch the ball and score. I don't really care. As long as I'm on the football field, I'm happy. And there's not really anything that's going to, make me, sad and upset. I went 4-12 my second year, and I still had a great time playing football every single day. So do I want to win? Yeah, but I love playing football. So that's all that is. And what was your second question? Sorry.
When there's forces, when the pressure of the game is really on you, do you have a strategy to be like, wow, I'm getting down, I need to get back to my joyful self?
If I ever have like a bad player, like you said, pressure on it, I'm a big believer of reset buttons, like a mental switch. It's part of my Joker tattoo that I have on my forearm. It's kind of a reset for me. So if I feel like anything is slipping, or if I feel like I'm not, playing at the level I need to be playing at, you'll see me slap my forearm. That's kind of a mental reset switch for me that I've been using over the past couple of years.
I also have a Joker tattoo. It's like Wright. No, I don't.
Really?
I don't. I want to ask you about your. No, that is not. That is, and there's no part of that that's true. You are the one. I want to ask you about your quarterback, though. So, despite getting you guys to the Super Bowl last year, Jimmy Garoppolo still has his wave of doubters out there. What do you say to the people who still don't believe in Jimmy Garoppolo?
Goodness gracious. I don't even know at this point. I mean, you can talk about how he's the best third down quarterback. Pretty sure I saw that he was the third best quarterback outside the pocket, which is pretty impressive when you're behind Russell Wilson in that category. He's not bad on the move. I think, what is he as a starter, like 25-3 or something like that? And I think we measure success by wins in the NFL. So I think he's doing a pretty good job on his part. And all we have to do is just continue to support him, because he's one hell of a quarterback, and he has been one hell of a quarterback since he stepped on our facility. And so, I love playing football with Jimmy G. He's one of the best leaders I've ever been around. And I'm just looking forward to playing more football with him, so he can just keep slinging that rock and we can keep scoring touchdowns and keep winning games. It's fun.
George, I got a two-part question to a degree. First part is this. Do you know what these numbers, why I'm bringing these numbers up? 48 catches, 737 yards. Do those numbers mean anything to you? Do they spur anything in your brain?
48 catches, 700 yards. No clue. What's up?
Yeah. Okay, that's your total production at the University of Iowa. Now, I know Iowa has been tight end university, and you had a bunch of guys around you. But that was 4 years of college football. You now have more receiving yards in a single season than any tight end in the history of the NFL. It might sound odd. Has the NFL been easier for you than college football was? And why the skyrocketing production over the last couple years?
Wow. I think a big part of it is just, learning the game of football. It's slowed down. The more you to play, it slows down for you. It's not going as fast. That and understanding of the offense that I'm in, just kind of learning. I think a big part of it's my tight end coach, John Embry, who I have for the San Francisco 49ers. Just, helps, boost confidence, and one thing I've always loved about him, he always tells you, just believe in yourself and you can get the job done. And I think just over the past 3 years, all I've done is just try to get better and, just try to play football at an extremely high level. And when you have the confidence and you know that, you have people that believe in you, all you need is an opportunity to succeed. And, that's what, Coach Shanahan gave me with the Niners. And so I'm just taking advantage of those opportunities. And I think that's all it is I just love playing football. I'm just going to keep playing at a super high level because I love it and I like to hit people.
George, I've got a theory that a sign of chemistry is not how much you necessarily like the person. It's how much you can make fun of the person. So it's like inside the NBA with Shaq and Kenny and Charles. They can roast each other because they actually love each other and they have perfect chemistry. And when I saw you wearing the Jimmy G shirt at the press conference, I was like, wow, this team has great chemistry that they can go out and sort of make fun of each other like that. So what's your chemistry like on the team, and can it get even better this next year?
It's so good.
That was a fun one. This is one of the best locker rooms I've ever been a part of. It has been since I got here as a rookie. We just have such a great group of guys, and guys that they're focused on winning, but at the same time, they want everyone on the roster to succeed. There's competition, which is what you need. Competition breeds success. But at the same time, we have guys like, Akello Witherspoon. He had, he lost his job, but all he did was try to get back in there. He played on special teams. He made some plays for us. And, we have guys like that all over the roster that, hey, if I can't play here, where can I play to help the team out? And we had a whole season of that from rookies to vets that have been doing that all over the field. And we have a team that has that mindset, It just makes football a lot easier for you. You don't really have arguments. You don't have guys pointing the finger at anybody. And when you have a locker room like that, when you start winning, it's just really fun. And that's all we did last year. We just had a blast the entire season, game in and game out. We just enjoyed playing football together.
We got about 45 seconds left. I have to end by showing this because it just sort of gives you an idea of how much fun you guys are having. Show the picture of George and Jimmy G with the hair swap. This has been going around. They've been taking athletes and doing this. This one was a questionable one. Take a look. How do you feel about it?
Oh,
would you entertain
I would not
the
buy a
thought
car from Jimmy.
Swapping dues with Jimmy G?
Yeah, he is the greasiest car salesman I've ever seen. Don't buy anything from that guy.
That's perfect.
I look
That's
fabulous.
perfect.
I know.
Thank you, George.
No, thank you guys.
George, it's been wonderful having you with us this morning. All the best. I'd like to join you in that garage with all that workout equipment one day, but we'll wait on that. Have a wonderful rest of the day. We got to go. We're back here tomorrow morning. Stay safe. Stay healthy, everyone.